Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the Word. And today that word is unusual. Unusual. Now, one of the things we're going to find out is that when we come to God and we get in our right relationship with Him and our attitude is changed towards Him, that then the things that we expect to be usual in this world will become unusual. And the unusual things will become usual. In other words, the same way that God uses the weak to confound and confuse the wise. That's the same thing that God has always done, and God will always do. That's why the last shall be first, the first shall be last, and why humility is what He desires, not pride. And all these seem to be opposite of what the world says. So it makes sense that as Jacob is, returning home, and as he knows he's going to face Esau, right? And we talked about that yesterday and some of the plans that he had made. And even as you get to Genesis 33 today, you see that he even still puts his wives and children in order of like favorites. So it's like he puts the least favorite up front because, hey, if he's going to kill anybody, let him take them first. And then the closest ones, of course, Rachel and Jacob, the closest to him. And just a side note, how must that have made the family feel? As one commentator put it, how would it make them feel to know that they were expendable? But nevertheless, that's a story for another time. So as you come to this passage, you see that Jacob has got this long line of things, and now he's actually going to meet Esau. But he's expecting Esau to come at him with force. He's expecting the murderous, vengeful, full of vengeance, same thing, vengeful brother that would be ready to settle the score. Probably because that's what he's thinking he would do if he was in that position. And yet you can look at it as almost like he's saying, okay, look, I took your blessing and I took all that. So here, that's why I have all these things lined up for you so I can kind of buy my way back into your favor. Well, we know that doesn't work, and we talked about that a little bit yesterday. But here, I want you to notice what happens in one verse. Genesis 33, verse 4, and for me, this sets the stage for everything that comes after. So Genesis 33, verse 4, simply says, "But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept." So here we have complete opposite of what Jacob was expecting Esau to do. And as you follow along in the story, Esau asks him, he says, what is this whole line of people and animals that I've met? What is that? And Jacob essentially tells him, look, this is so I could get your favor. I could basically purchase your favor. And Esau says, look, I've done well. He says, you keep all that stuff. And eventually he kind of twists his arm to kind of force him to take the blessing. Part of that might have been Jacob's way of kind of making things right, realizing he deceived him in the past and took that blessing and now kind of forcing a blessing upon him. As you go to the end of throughout the passage, Esau's going to, leave some of his men with him. And he says, no, don't do that. I'll come see you after a while. And he kind of goes another way. Some think that even Jacob was being deceitful then. I don't really see that here because the author doesn't point it out. And I think Jacob has changed at this point. Now, he's not perfect, but he has changed some at this point. Now, having said all that, the unusual thing is that he's expecting Esau to act in a way that he would or act in a way that the world would. Now, as I kind of opened up with today, God takes those unusual things and makes those commonplace. And I'm not putting it down by saying commonplace. What I mean is that when we truly have the right relationship with God, it makes those miracles that happen. It makes it where we expect them, not to the point where we're putting God in a box and say He has to. But I think about it this way. Think about the disciples. And yet, every time He did a miracle, every time Jesus did a miracle, they were more surprised and amazed than ever, even though they'd seen it before. But at some point, the disciples were looking to each other thinking, man, he's going to do it again. I don't know why we're surprised anymore. Right? I mean, how many miracles did he have to do before they said, I don't know why we just don't believe. I don't know why we don't just take him at his word. I don't know why we ever doubted. I'm sure they said it. You know how? Because we say the same things, even today. Think about the times that you've seen God answer in a miraculous way. And after the fact, you said, wow, why did I even doubt? Why did I even doubt that God was going to be in control? Why did I have such fear? Why did I have such worry? Man, we can look back many times and we see that God has taken the things that we would call unusual, and he has made them usual. He has made them his, like impossible is the realm in which God works. And so while the world says one thing, God says something else. And I think I don't know that we'll truly understand it or truly recognize it on this side of eternity. But what I will say today, it's just based on this simple verse, this simple passage, as we've been going through the life of Jacob and all the things that he's done wrong and the things that he'll still do wrong. There are times where we have to open up our eyes and say, God, you are working in mysterious ways. God, you are using mysterious circumstances. But God, I know your promise. I know what you've told me. And God, help me to not see those circumstances and expect what the world does for that to be commonplace. No, let the work that God does be what we're used to. Let's put the world on the back burner. Let's put the things of God and the work of God at the forefront. And when we do that, I think we'll be amazed at what we see. Today, why don't you be on the lookout for God making something unusual usual? God bless you. And I pray you have a great day.